Hey there, YouTube. Well, got another plane here that I built. It's kind of my version of a Lazy Bee. I decided that I needed something a little bit more easy to fly, since I'm not really new to RC flying, but it's been a couple years since I was really active in the hobby. So I built this. Um, it's It's all made out of foam and foam core. It's just rudder and elevator controls. Simple push rod, exterior push rods for the control surfaces, and wings held on with rubber bands, as well as the landing gear. And I'm just going to go through a few of the steps that I used to create this, and show you some of the tools that I used and made. And hopefully this will help some of you out there that are wanting to make something like this. So I started off building the wing, and I just made up this this airfoil template here out of thin plywood, and there's two of them here. I just have them taped together for storage. So I cut these out, made them as close to each other as I could, drilled a couple holes through it, and then cut out my piece of foam and screwed those templates to the ends of the foam, so it would basically be something like that. And then I just used my hot wire cutter and cut that out. I won't go into too great a detail about how that's done, just because there's so many other videos on YouTube about how to do that sort of thing. I'm using this 2-inch foam that I got at Home Depot, or I guess it was Lowe's. But anyway, use that for the wing and the fuselage. For the fuselage, these are my templates. This would go on the top and bottom of the fuselage, and then I just did the same method of screwing it down to the foam and using the edge of these as my guides for the hot wire. And once I had that blocked out, then I went ahead and just drew directly on the foam the profile that I wanted, and rough cut that out with my hot wire cutter, and then shaped the rest of the way with a sanding block. And it all went pretty well, pretty smoothly. Now I'll pause the video and open it up so you can see the inside. Okay, so here's the inside, and the way I cut all that out was I used this bit of coat hanger wire that I just bent into this shape, and I held this end with my pliers and heated up the rest of it with a torch. And then it was just a matter of scooping out the foam from inside there and making that cavity. This V-notch section back here is a air outlet, so that lets out the airflow that's coming in through this hole. And the way that hole was made was with this stainless steel rod that I heated up and just basically shove it in there and wiggle it around until you get the right shape that you want in the size hole, and that works out pretty well. Takes a few times of heating and melting to get the right size. I also used that same rod for the wires coming out of the servos. So I cut the hole for the servos, the square hole for the servo body to fit into, and then with this heated rod I just went in at an angle and melted a hole through to the interior, you can see there, and same with the other one, just came out in the same spot. And I also used that same rod. I don't know if you can see down in there, there's a channel down in there that lines up with the air intake hole, and that's where my battery rests. It just kind of presses down into that channel, so I can move it forward and back to adjust the CG as necessary. So I think that's about it for the interior of it, and the whole thing is covered with packing tape, and that definitely adds some durability to it. And for the wing, it also adds a little bit of strength against folding up on itself. But I don't imagine there's going to be too much of a load. It's fairly light, and the coloring is just Sharpie. One thing, if you're going to use Sharpie, you'll have to put a second coat of tape over it, otherwise it'll just rub off. So that's what I've done. Just went over the areas that had the Sharpie on it with the tape, rather than covering the entire thing twice. Saves a little bit of weight on that, but again, probably negligible. And on the wing, I've added these plastic reinforcements for where the rubber bands will go around the wing. Otherwise, the rubber band would just eat right through the foam, and it would just break it. I forget the name of the guy on YouTube that I got this idea from, of using gift cards. I think this was a Kendall gift card, but so I used that used the gift card there, and then I used another piece of it for the control horns. And it's actually a really sturdy way of doing it. I think it'll work out nice, and it's quick and free. Good way to reuse stuff you already have. The landing gear is only held on by the rubber bands, and it's just a carbon rod that sits in this little groove here, and the rubber bands hold it on. That way, in a crash, it'll just move out of the way and take some of the force without actually breaking anything. Well, hopefully. These are also carbon rods for the wing mounts. And yeah, I haven't flown it yet. I've been waiting for some decent weather, and today looks like might be the day. So provided I can get somebody to help me with videoing the first flight, which I'd like to do, you'll be seeing that shortly.